You know, I spent the entire weekend meditating and suddenly I'm clear.
Welcome to Spiritual Happy Hour. I love Sundays.
I do too.
And wasn't that so cool? You're going to talk about who I am or who am I or something like that, right? Well, I think it's pretty clear that Randy's pretty clear on who he is.
He lives that feeling of total transparency.
He's something else, isn't he, that guy?
Yes,
Not
he is.
just an amazing magician, not just amazing musician, but an amazing magician.
Do not adjust your set. That was real. So what are we doing?
Well, you're going to ask me a question that I'm not supposed to answer.
This is Spiritual Happy Hour, and sometimes it's loosely based on A Course in Miracles, and sometimes we use the word God or love or source or joy.
Or Marilyn, because it's all the same anyway.
So, Joy, if you were to describe who you are without using what you do, how would you describe it?
Is that the question I'm not supposed to really answer?
You're supposed to answer that question.
Well, I'm going to answer it in a way that I would say I'm love.
Oh, I don't have to say anything else. Thank you very much. You have a nice day. We're going to go right directly to...
No. It's a really good talk today about how we define ourselves.
So, really the question is, who are you? I mean, really, or who am I? Really? I used to ask myself all the time, what do I want to be when I grow up? And then I just started saying, I want to be me when I grow up. But I didn't know exactly what that meant. I didn't know exactly what those descriptors really were. I mean, we know we have our DNA with our ancestors.com and we have that identification, but does that really define you? I mean, Charles Bukowski, who's a German poet and novelist, said, he asked the question, can you remember who you were before you were told who you should be? Which is a pretty interesting statement. I've done this exercise a few times. It's called the cocktail party. It is pretty fun because it's actually a silent cocktail party. And I used to do this with my communication classes when I taught college. And what you do is you have a list of words that you write down and hang around your neck. And these words are how you define yourself. And in the cocktail party, we all have our little drinks, non-alcoholic. We have our snacks, just as though you were at a real cocktail party. Except when you meet people, you don't say, hi, how are you? You are silent, and you read the sign that they've created with words that define themselves, not using anything that they do. And then, after that, you make eye contact. It is pretty darn interesting. I mean, the words that connect you to your job, you're a Walmart greeter, or you're a cashier, or you're an IT technician, or you're whatever. But the words that define you, what would they be? Like, avid reader, does that define you, or is that what you do? You're a naturalist, a visionary. You're an introvert. I had a problem with this when I did the exercise the very first time because I'm a channel, but is that what I do, or is that who I am? And I went back and forth on it, and then I finally decided I'm just a divine link. That's how Adirona describes me. Anyway, it was fascinating how people reacted to that little exercise. Some people were so uncomfortable that they couldn't read the list on someone's chest. They would just immediately make eye contact. Some people, after they read the list, they would not make eye contact. Some people even wept. That brought up so much emotion to actually be seen by one of their peers. It's quite interesting. In the movie Avatar, the extraterrestrials greet one another by saying, I see you, which is a little like that little game. Many times we think of ourselves as not being worthy to be seen. In the past, when people paid me a compliment, my little ego would jump out and say, "Oh, thank you." And my little ego would say, "Yeah, but they don't really know who you are. I mean, they don't know who you really are. Otherwise, they wouldn't be paying you that compliment." It actually took me wearing our awareness bracelets and changing them to break that habit of having my ego run away with that energy, that little voice that says you're not enough, discrediting the compliment that you are to receive. I had to change my bracelet a lot, albeit changing that old habit. In A Course in Miracles, chapter 21, section 7, in the unanswered question, the last unanswered questions, it says, do you not see that your misery comes from the strange belief that you are powerless? Being helpless is the cost of sin. Helplessness is sin's condition. The one requirement that it demands is to be believed. Only the helpless could believe it. And in another section in the same chapter, it says, the Holy Spirit will never teach you that you are sinful. Errors, God or love, will correct. It also says there's no problem, no event, no situation, no perplexity that vision will not solve. All is redeemed when looked upon with vision. For this is not your sight, and brings with it the laws belonging to God, whose sight it truly is. In the Course, in the workbook section, over and over again, in many different ways, it says, I am the holy child of God himself or herself. I have a function that God will fulfill. I am blessed. I bless the world because I bless myself. Never does it say, part of me is a holy child of God. Never does it say, my function here is to believe in my own limitations. I cannot bless others because I am not worthy of blessing myself. So where did those old paradigms, those old programs, those old beliefs come from? You know, it doesn't really matter anymore. In the past, before 2012, it may have mattered where they came from. Now, just know that they don't matter. It's just blah, blah, blah. That old stuff, that old story that no longer serves. So we are here now, living in this time, and we can understand that we humans are the most creative life force in this universe. Because we are created in the image and likeness of Source. Do you know why Source has no form, no body? Because you are that form. You are that body. That is you and you. Yet somehow, somewhere along the line, we got the feeling that we are powerless. Yet God, Source, sees no contradictions. None. God creates no contradictions. There's not a perfect and then a not perfect within humans, because they're all in their true essence, perfection. We are learning new things all this time. All the time. We learn new ways to talk, new ways to think, new ways to walk, new ways to live. just like we're learning a new language and understanding how that language reprograms our own neural pathways in our brain. And just because it was always one way doesn't mean that it cannot change, because it can. By focusing on that change, just because you always say one thing, that doesn't mean that you have to continue saying it. You can change and shift the way you define yourself, because language is changing. People are changing. The language people use are changing. I mean, I'll give you an example. When I grew up, a rubbery shoe that had a little piece of rubber sticking out of the top of it, that had another piece of rubber that went between your big toe and your second toe, was called a thong. Oh, that is not what it's called these days. These days, it is a flip-flop, because a thong is something that doesn't cover your bottom. You know, the definition of my grandchild, who is binary, who resonates with the male gender, his sweetheart identifies as non-binary. Now, I really had to get into a conversation with him about that, because I wanted to understand. So binary means that he resonates with the gender that he was born with. And I can use the term he to describe him. A non-binary, even though my grandchild's sweetheart has all the female parts and appears to be female, they do not want to be defined as a female or non-binary. So, you know, I get it. I understand the need to not be defined as your body or as your gender. And I am in the process of laying down new neural pathways in my brain to accommodate the language of human reference. And I would say we all might want to think about that. I mean, Aristotle said, knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom. So we want all wisdom. So what that brings us back to the beginning of who am I? Or who are you? By the very definition of who you are, is that limiting you? Yes, I'm a mom, but that's not all that I am. That's not a definition of who I am. I'm a sister, but that's not all that I am. I'm a visionary. I'm enthusiastic, but is that who I am? And then is the assumption that I am enthusiastic, but that's not all that I am. Things that make you go, I am powerful, and I am weak. I am brilliant, and I'm foolish. I am complicated. And at the same time, I am simple. Both sides of every coin are still just a part of the same coin. I know, it's all very complex, isn't it? I am all those things because I am a part of the source of all that is. Like Joy said in the beginning, I am love. But maybe that's not even a definition. Love. Yet, does that limit my own energy and my own identification of myself? Who am I? I am all things. Who are you? As Master Yeshua says, I am you, and we are one. I guess that's enough. Over the next month, I would like you to ponder words that you use to identify who you are. Are they limiting words? Are they infinite words? And I'd like you to integrate those limiting words, change your bracelet when you use them, so they're not in charge of your thoughts about yourself any longer. And then I'd like you to breathe into who you truly are. An infinite being of light, a presence of growing perfection in the world. I see you, and I accept that you see me as well. After all, I am you. And now we're going to get to see the transparency of the Master Randy Luna, just so you can see through who you really are. And then after a little intermission of music, we'll see what Adirona has to say about all this. Namaste, y'all. Ah, so it is good day to you, huh? So very good to see you and you and you and you and you. We love our studio audience, huh? It is very good to see you as well. For without you, it would just be a few of us here, huh? But I know, we know, who you really are. You can query all that you wish. You can ask all those questions, am I this, am I that? You are you. A wonderfully unique being in this planet, on this planet, around this planet, and in all dimensions that you happen to be passing through. Huh? There is someone that asked us last week that, well, what dimension are we in now? And my question was, does that really matter? We have our opinion, but the dimension where you are is where you are. It does not define you, however. The only being that can define you is you. So when you say, I'm so tired, because they don't do that any longer. Because when you say, I am so tired, the vessel Marilyn did on the way home from her trip this past week. And therefore, what does that create? More of being tired. Instead, what would happen if she said, I am so enthusiastic about the fact that we just activated hundreds of people, maybe thousands. Because one activation multiplies by 200, which multiplies by another 200 for each individual, which multiplies by thousands, maybe millions. So, tired is not who she is, or who you are. So who are you? Master Yeshua came in at the very end of when the vessel Marilyn was writing it down and said, you are me. Huh? That is a daunting thought, to think that you, somewhere in the depths of your mind, have the wisdom and the innate abilities the same as the Master Yeshua. Some of you may know that being as Jesus, the Christed one. We know him as Yeshua. Yeshua ben Joseph of Nazareth. For you see, that is in his name. Does your name define you? Maybe. That is why we are adamant that if you change your name to something that you resonate more with, that you must change it legally. Because then the universe knows who they're talking about. Understand that in the energy and in the frequency of you, there's all sorts of energies that are coming round about together. There's not just one energy. So why do you need to define yourself at all? Why is that an energy that is within you? Because someone, somewhere along the line, asked you, what is your name? Where are you from? What do you do for a living? Or do you do anything for a living? Those are not the defining questions of you. Those are connected to you, but the name is a part of your energy. The name, breathe into that, is a part of your energy. Now, you may have a soul name, and you may have a name that you use. And maybe the two are not to be greeted with each other, like our vessel Marilyn. Her name Marilyn Harper has a very specific rhythmic pennet to it, rhythmic pattern to it. And if you ever listen to her when she introduces herself, she seldom does just say, I am Marilyn. She says, my name is Marilyn Harper, because of the rhythmic activation within her name. Her soul name, she cannot believe we are telling you this. We love that part. Her soul name is Mer Hashonanai. And after she transformed in 1993, some would call that a walk-in, her friends suddenly started calling her Mer, which was her soul name. They did not know that she'd experienced a transformation. They just sensed a difference. But Mer Hashonanai does not work on a business card or for business because it does not carry the rhythm of Marilyn Harper that she was supposed to carry as a part of her activation. So in your definition of you get the opportunity to say, who am I? And what type of name do I resonate with? The master Randy Luna resonates with Rando, but most people call him Randy. And it is fine for him because he's an evolved extraterrestrial and names mean very little to him. But if you mention him, you might call him Rando. And that way he will know that you know who he is. So as that energy comes through, we ask you, who are you? You are a divine being of light. Yes? Yes. You are infinite beyond all possible limitation. Yes? Yes. You are a being that has the essence of perfection. Yes? Yes. That's the part that's hard for you humans to swallow, yes? I am perfect. Well, if I am perfect, what does this little hangover thing that is around the vessel Marilyn, huh? Or if I am perfect, why does this eye do something different than that eye? If I am perfect, why do I feel like I can't be perfect? Or how do you define perfection? Source defines perfection. Take a deep breath. As you. You are created in the most miraculous way possible. How could that little baby ever be born through something that they called original sin if it wasn't for control of the people? That little baby that came through a human form, whether it is binary or not binary, still came through and was perfect until others started shoulding on it. Oh, you shouldn't do this, or you shouldn't do that. So we ask you to stop that. Just stop it. Don't should on yourself. Be you in your own divine, holy perfection. And anything that discounts or separates you from that perfection, we ask you now to just integrate it. Let it go. So you can be you. We see you. We know you. We love you. We are you. Namaste. Namaste.